Yo guys, Travis here, and today I have a desk full of things that I'm gonna try and connect to my iPhone 15 Pro Max and basically see what happens. Of course, as you guys already know, the iPhone 15s and 15 Pros have USB-C this year, and for the Pros in particular, it does support USB 3.0, which could be very handy, depending on if you're trying to connect an SSD or an SD card reader. So in total here, we have about 30 items, not including things that we're gonna have to show in different setups, mostly because I can't fit a 65-inch LG TV on this table. Let's grab some low-hanging fruit with a Samsung T7 Shield. This is an external SSD, probably one of my favorites just because of its size, speed, honestly, super reliable. I've had none of these drives fail or give me issues, but the Shield adds this rubber external coating, almost like a rubber wrapper around it that acts as a heat sink. So this will probably help if I'm recording ProRes for a really long time. I do have some cables down here. I'm gonna be using a 3.1 Gen 2 cable just to make sure that everything works across the board nice and easily. This could be useful for a few things. One, of course, Apple talked about ProRes external video recording, so you could unlock that 60 frames option. But the other thing would be moving files back and forth. It's really easy just to be able to plug this into an iPad or a Mac, move files back and forth without having to use AirDrop or connect your phone. So we'll go ahead and open the Files app. And right within the Files app, we do see 4 terabyte Samsung T7, all of the files that are on this drive. And then the other thing would be, I do unlock USB-C recording with ProRes log. It really doesn't pop up and say anything until you go to the Files app or you go to start video recording. So just be aware of that. So the next thing we have here is a Sony SD card reader, which also is a CFast Express Type A for those smaller, faster cards. And this is really convenient if you want to just take an SD card that has some photos on it and go ahead and import those directly to your phone and post them on social without having to go to a computer or an iPad or transfer between the camera and your device. All we have to do is launch the Photos app, and in the bottom right corner, you do have an option to import, and it will show all the photos on your card. You can import them right to your camera roll and go from there. So not only does it show up in the Photos app, but if you go to the Files app, this will show as the card. And in this case, it's an untitled card, and I can see all the files and folders that are in there. And I can just go through and dig through the files manually if I want to move into the Files app, and even be able to see all the video clips that are on my card as well. So this basically works as if you plugged it into a computer, but right into your phone, which is super convenient. What's also super convenient is this case from today's sponsor, Casecoo. With this year's new iPhone models comes new cases, and these are the Magic Stand series from Casecoo. They come in a variety of colors and also include an anti-yellowing technology, keeping the color cleaner for much longer. These specifically include what they call Cloud Cush, airbag edges that feature varying hardness of TPU materials that are slim, yet maintain plenty of air cushioning volume that provides shock absorption with 3-meter drop protection. These cases also feature 1mm raised camera bezels and 2mm screen bezels so that the phone is protected regardless of how it's set down. One of the coolest features is the Magic Stand. This magnetic ring folds out at various angles, making for an easy stand to prop up the phone in both portrait and landscape orientations, which is perfect for placing the phone horizontally when watching a movie or playing a game, and vertically when reading cooking recipes or easily browsing social media. Magic Stand supports MagSafe accessories by providing a very strong connection to wallets and charging pucks, which is important to make sure that those items stay safely attached. For more information on these products from Casecoo, check out the link in the video description below. Next thing, let's do a game controller. We'll start out here with the PlayStation 5 DualSense. Now, this does have USB-C right on top, but this is also officially supported via Bluetooth as a game controller that you can just connect and use. So let's go ahead and plug this in directly. Now, I actually don't know what this is going to do, if anything. Oh, wow, okay. It's showing that it's charging and receiving power, which is cool. I'm gonna go ahead and launch Real Racing 3, which is the only game I have installed on the phone. And we do have a notification pop up that says game controller connected, DualSense wireless controller. So I'm literally using this controller over USB, which is nice if it's dead. But also if you don't wanna have to pair over Bluetooth, it's just going to work. So we'll go ahead and use this, and I'm in this race. This just works, and I'm honestly kind of surprised that it works over USB, because Apple on the site says that all these controllers are supported via Bluetooth, but the DualSense must just work over USB nice and easily. So since we're on the topic of game controllers, I have a Switch Pro controller, which is official Nintendo, no lights. So I do see it looking for a switch down at the bottom with the 4 LEDs, but it's not doing anything within the game, and I did not get any sort of notification like I did with the PlayStation controller. So no luck on the Switch. And then I have an Xbox Series X controller. Now I did feel a rumble, no sign of life here. So I did push the power button. It is looking for our Xbox, but it is not connecting to the phone. So the only controller that works directly out of these three is going to be the PlayStation controller. Something really easy is a flash drive. Now this one is twofold. It is a Type C on one side and a Type A on the other, and we'll go ahead and try both because I do have a little tiny USB-A adapter right there. Obviously this could be very convenient just to move files off back and forth, but let's go ahead and plug this in. And it shows up right in the Files app. This is my bootable installer for macOS Sonoma, as I did a bunch of fresh installs. Look forward to the video on that coming soon. And that just worked. Let's try one more thing, and I'm going to flip this around, and I have a little USB C to A adapter. This is called a Nonda. I got it from Amazon. This should just work because it's just C to A. Cool, fires right up. So if you need to plug any USB A flash drives in, you could just get a little adapter and it'll work just fine. I have a Aputure MC here, which is a small little tiny magnetic light. Very convenient. In this case, this really would just be for power because you're not really transferring any data or anything like that. It says, cannot use accessory. This accessory uses too much power. So it does not like whatever amount of power that this light wants to draw. However, the light does say that it's charging. I don't know how much power it's actually getting, but the light seems to be accepting of the power, but the phone does not seem to be happy about how much power the light is requesting. And then I'm also gonna try an audio recorder. This is what we use to record our sound on set, a Mix Pre 3. Power this on. Oh, same thing, not enough power. This is probably just a little bit too demanding for how much the phone can give out. So no dice on that either. Next thing we'll test is another game controller, but in this case, the Backbone. This is the Android version of the Backbone, which Kevin updated to support iOS. They officially came out with a update for this. And the cool thing about this game controller is it literally attaches right to your phone and almost turns your phone into a Switch-like device where the grips are on both sides of the device, making it really comfortable. And we have two ports on the bottom, one for a headphone jack and one for USB-C power pass-through. So if you're gonna be gaming for a while, plug some headphones in and a charger and continue playing. I'm gonna go back to Real Racing 3, and this does say Backbone 1 PlayStation Edition, which it is. It was just the Android version, and continue my race here. So let's start this over again. And it just works. So if you happen to have an Android version of the Backbone, it will just fire up and connect to your 15 or 15 Pro Max and work as a game controller right attached to your phone, which is super cool. Next thing I'm gonna go ahead and try are some docks and adapters. I have a few here. One is a USB-C hub from Belkin, USB-C on one side, and I do have a couple of ports there, SD card, USB-A, and HDMI, and then I do have an Ethernet as well. Now the cool thing about this is I've used Ethernet on an iPad Pro before to be able to download apps and do backups very fast instead of doing over Wi-Fi. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in here. And if I go to settings, the Ethernet options show right up. So I could just connect an Ethernet cable right to this, turn the Wi-Fi off, and be able to download apps or games or movies really, really quickly over Ethernet, which in most cases is gonna be more reliable than Wi-Fi. And then let's see about these other ports here. So I do have an SD card reader built into this as well. I'm gonna go ahead and take my card that we used before, and this should just work. The import tab shows right up. And then my USB-A ports here, let's go ahead and grab that flash drive again and try the USB-A ports and see if those just work in this hub, and that shows up. So cool thing with this is now I've got so many ports available to do so many things, and this could be used between an iPhone, an iPad, and a Mac now, which is super awesome. So Belkin dock, very cool. Next thing I'm gonna try is a third-party Steam Deck dock, which should be exactly the same thing. In this case, I just have no SD card and I have an additional USB-A port. So acting as a little dock here, the same things work. So the display out shows right up, as well as the Ethernet. So this functions exactly like I would want it to. So if you have a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally, which we'll test next, that same dock will work for your iPhone if you need to plug anything into any of those ports. Very cool. Speaking of ROG Ally, we have an ROG Ally here, which basically is a handheld gaming PC. So this is just Windows. Now, if I install iTunes on Windows, it should just show up for my phone and act as normal. And of course, we can just plug Type-C into one side and then Type-C into the other side of the phone and utilize this to transfer files and charge the phone. So I'm gonna boot this up here. Shows us charging. And as soon as we get into Windows, my phone should ask if I want to allow to transfer information. Allow this device to access photos and videos, allow or don't allow. So this is basically just acting as a PC. And if you want to be able to transfer music manually like you used to through iTunes, you could install iTunes and move stuff that way. Or if you just need to give your iPhone some power, plug it right in and the ROG will supply power to your phone. Next thing, we'll try a Sony a7 IV. And in this case, this should just allow us to transfer what's on the internal card directly. This camera features USB-C, and there is a setting on the camera here that we're gonna have to set for file transfer. This is gonna enter the mass storage option like you'd be connecting to a computer, USB mass storage. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing that I did before with the SD card reader, open the Photos app, import shows as it should, and then I'll go back to the Files app and see here that the card is mounted as untitled. So this is even more convenient actually if you don't have a SD card reader with you and you just literally have your camera and your phone, connect them to each other, transfer the files directly, go ahead and post them on social super fast. That's actually a really cool feature. All right, next thing I'll try is this Sonos Move. This is the first gen Sonos Move. And I really don't know what's gonna happen because this is intended for charging the Sonos, and now it is charging my iPhone. I guess in this case, if you are running low on juice and you have a Sonos Move, you could have the Sonos supply power to your phone to give you some juice, but you're gonna have to play music over Bluetooth or AirPlay, not over USB. A small Apogee interface that should just work is the Apogee Groove. Now I've used two small DACs, AudioQuest Dragonfly Cobalt, which I don't have with me, and that should just work because I used it via Lightning before. And the same thing goes for this little guy. This goes all the way up to 24-bit 192, which is perfect for Apple Music lossless. And I'm going to plug this directly into the phone and we'll fire up Apple Music and see what it does. Now this was officially supported via Lightning, so nothing should be any different, but it's nice just to be able to carry one cable now. So one cable will be able to work with the iPhone, a USB C iPad, or a Mac, and I do immediately get the Unlock iPhone to Use accessory, and Apple Music has already changed my output. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a song that's in high-res lossless. This particular one is in 24-bit 96, and I do see some dancing lights there, so we should be getting audio out. Sounds super good. If you guys use Amazon HD, Tidal, or Apple Music that has a high-res option, or even Spotify or YouTube that don't stream in high-res, this is gonna be a very good DAC, and it's super tiny. So the next thing we'll try is a pair of Sony wireless headphones. These are the WH-1000XM3. What a mouthful of a name. So these aren't even nearly the newest ones that they offer, but these do have USB-C. Similar to the AirPods, Apple says you can just plug in a pair of the new second generation AirPods with USB-C and charge them. The same thing should be the case with this, and they show us charging. So if you're in a pinch and you need a little bit of extra juice, you should be able to just plug these in and get a little bit of power from your phone. Speaking of power from phones, let's try a couple different iPhone models. I have a iPhone 15 from the iPhone 15 unboxing video here, and the 15 is charging. So in this case, they are doing a handshake to see which phone has the least amount of power, and the one with more power is gonna provide power to the one with less power, which is super nice if you're out and about. The next phone we will go ahead and try is an iPhone 12. So I have a USB-C to Lightning cable, and we're charging. Now, as far as I know, you cannot charge from a Lightning device to a USB-C device. So in this case, unlike the iPhone 15, power is only gonna flow to the Lightning device, not to the USB-C device. But still cool, if you're in a pinch, you have a USB-C to Lightning cable, need to power another iPhone, plug it right in, and that phone's gonna get some power. Now the last iOS device that I have on the table here is this iPad. This is a 6th gen iPad, kind of random, but this probably needs 12 watts because that was the power adapter that this would have came with. So I don't think in this case, it's going to like receiving a charge, and it does not. If we see up in the top corner there, it says not charging. So it sees that it's connected via USB, but there is not enough power supplied to the iPad to be able to receive a charge. So we have a few things left on the table, and then we're gonna go ahead and go to 2 setups after the fact. One I'm gonna test first is this 8-bit Do keyboard. Now this is Bluetooth 2.4 gigahertz with a USB dongle, and it does have a USB-C port right on the back. I'm just gonna leave it in the off position, and we'll go ahead and plug it into the phone and see if anything happens. Oh, my keyboard disappeared. That's a good sign. Let me grab my iPad stand, stick my phone up like a tiny little computer. What's a computer? And it just works. Now, I should be able to use Mac keyboard commands to a certain degree. So if I do Command Shift 3, it takes a screenshot. If I do Command Space, it opens up Spotlight. If I do volume up and down on the volume keys, it does adjust the volume here. So if you need to be able to plug in a keyboard directly to your phone to bust out an essay, plug in a USB keyboard and it works right away. Let's go ahead and try an Apple keyboard, because these have dedicated function rows of specific keys that should unlock even more functionality if that keyboard worked. So I'm not gonna pair this over Bluetooth. I'm gonna use my Lightning to C cable that I used for the iPad and plug this keyboard into the phone and see what happens. And it works right away. But let's see the keyboard controls here. Now let's go ahead and do volume up and down, which does work. My media controls, those should work. Let's go to the music app real quick and see if it goes forward and backwards in the song. And it does. Volume up and down works. So if you have an extra Apple keyboard, or you just want to use it with your phone in the case that you need to, an Apple keyboard is going to have a little bit more functionality because all of those top rows are already mapped to system functions that would exist on the Mac, but they just work on the phone. I have no hope for this. This is just a Razer wired mouse, and I'm gonna use my USB adapter here. Of course, mice work on iPadOS, but it powered on, but can we use it? Editor Travis here about the mouse. I completely forgot about assistive touch. So you have to enable assistive touch, and then you get access to utilize the mouse and its features. And if you go to devices, this mouse shows right away, and I can even customize my buttons. So I customize button 4 as home and button 5 as my app switcher. So this actually works really cool, and I can even get a small little cursor just like iPadOS, but assistive touch is required to do that. So you will get the assistive touch icon here. But if you need to utilize a mouse, it can be done. All right, down to the last 2 items on the desk here. 2 more Apogee products that are phenomenal. One is the ClipMic Digital 2, which I will use when we go to those other setups because I won't have the boom above me. So this is micro USB. Open up the Apogee app for that, and it should show up. ClipMic Digital 2. Well, let's go ahead and do a little sound test. This is being recorded with the ClipMic Digital 2 straight into my iPhone 15 Pro Max over USB-C. Of course, this worked with Lightning, so I knew it was going to work, but the nice thing about this, as I said before, is the fact that now you only have to carry one type of cable that will work across every device. And then the last thing on our table here is a Apogee HypeMic. Now, I've had my fair share of usage with Blue Yetis and Snowballs over the years, and this thing is just on another level because it has hardware level compression that makes your voice sound like that nice bassy radio sound when you engage that compression. Same thing as the ClipMic. This was supported via a lightning cable before, and it just should work and fire up. And the HypeMic is shown here, so I'm gonna engage some compression. This is a test of the iPhone 15 Pro Max directly connected to the HypeMic. Works right away, and obviously This really just adds a level of convenience, not having to switch between Lightning, USB-A, and USB-C. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is go to 2 different setups around the office and connect it to a few more things and see what happens, and then we'll wrap this video up. This is the new Apple multi-port USB-C adapter that has HDMI, USB-C, and USB-A. There are 2 of these, and I'll put the model numbers to the old and the new on screen. This is the newer one, and it does support 4K HDR. So we'll go ahead and plug in my phone. I do have HDMI right here on the TV. Perfect. I get a Dolby Vision output of my home screen. If I go back here and go to displays, I should get some settings. Yeah, so LG TV here, and it is giving me Dolby Vision, and it's gonna do automatic display changes for the type of content that's being played. So we're gonna go ahead and play back a movie here from Apple TV. I'm gonna go to Top Gun Maverick. This is in Dolby Vision. The TV switches over to Dolby Vision, and we are watching this 4K HDR movie. This is super convenient if you're traveling in a hotel, wanna plug your phone right in, or if you're in like a conference room with a projector or a TV, wanna plug your phone right in. Honestly, I would have never even thought to do this, but it kind of just makes sense if you're gonna have movies on your device and you just wanna play them up on the TV and you don't have a streaming device, plug this cable right in, you're watching a movie. I'm not expecting much out of this, but the PS5 does have a front USB-C port, and I do have a longer USB-C cable here. So let's go ahead and plug this into the PS5 and see what it does. Now, this isn't like the PS3 days where you could transfer files, and I'm assuming that's not gonna work either. But immediately we do get power. So obviously nothing happened on screen, and it didn't say that I'm connecting any sort of device. But if you're in the case of charging a controller and need some juice in your phone, grab that cable, plug your phone in, and you're getting some power. And one last thing I wanna try, we do have a switch dock here as well. I'm just gonna take the power out of the switch dock. This should just work, USB-C power delivery, and the phone starts charging immediately. So in this case, if you're in need of some juice and you have some consoles near you that use USB-C like the Switch or the PS5, you can utilize those devices to charge your phone. We do have a couple things here that I wanna note. Pro Display XDR, connected to an OWC Thunderbolt dock, which then is also connected to an Apogee Duet 3 for our Genelex here for the editing station. Plug that in, charging, and display out. So this actually does work. And it does look like our Duet works as well now. So we do have the mirroring as we saw before, same settings as the LG TV, of course. I can control brightness on this case though, which is cool. I don't know many people that are gonna connect their iPhone to a Pro Display, but if you do, you could go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and go right back to the Apple TV app, play this up on the Pro Display, adjust my sound on my Duet. I'm not gonna have that play for very long for copyright, but we do have audio coming through my Duet, through the Genelex, showing up on the Pro Display, and I'm getting power through the OWC dock. This is very cool. So that has been my iPhone 15 Pro Max USB-C accessories tested video. Honestly, I'm really surprised that most of this stuff just plugged in and worked, but there is one more thing. So there is a display that I wanted to test here. This is an Apple Studio display. It is a awesome CRT, and I'm going to use a VGA to USB-C adapter, and we will see if the phone can mirror to this display. Of course, this is a CRT, so it is quite old, and I don't know how it's going to fare with the resolutions of modern day output. I know that this was high resolution for the time, but I just don't know if these two are gonna talk to each other, or I'm just gonna get nothing, or this thing's gonna explode. All right, so let's go ahead and plug it in. I'm gonna plug power in here. All right, so orange, we are not receiving signal. Let's go ahead and, I'm kind of nervous to plug this in, to be honest. Display out. Hear that tick? And there we go. We have a little bit of flicker, but this is my phone being mirrored out to the display, studio display. I'm gonna go back to settings and see what it says. It even says Studio Display 17. How funny is that? And of course, we're just in standard dynamic range. I'm gonna go to the Apple TV app, Go back to Top Gun. The audio is coming out of my phone, and we are mirroring the movie right to the studio display. And I have to tell you guys, the quality of this CRT is crazy good. The colors, the contrast, even the sharpness for a display of this age is super awesome. So we do have Real Racing 3 up on the CRT. In this case, I'm using motion controls. And I have to say, this CRT looks super good. And there's no lag either. One of the beautiful things about CRTs. So if you want to play Real Racing 3 on your Apple Studio Display CRT, you can.